Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think you were muted.
That has been happening to me all day today. That's not cool. How are you, Oscar?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. So I'm cheating a little bit because I've been like in an all-day training. So I'm actually eating right now, and I'm gonna follow along. So that way, like I don't get hungry as you're cooking. I know it's really weird. You know, gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I mean, we'll let this one slide today.
But yeah, so are you ready? Are you ready for the challenge? Well, I mean, like the challenge of cooking for all of us and having us follow along with you?
Yeah. I'm ready.
Sweet. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. So I was looking at some of the comments that we've received, and it looks like, positive feedback. I think people have enjoyed, your cooking along with you and trying out these recipes. So, thank you everybody for sending comments, and just keep them coming. And also, if you have any recipes that you want Oscar to try, then send them over because he's ready, right?
I'm ready.
You're like, sure, I'm not.
Don't make them too hard. Don't make the recipes too hard.
Yeah, that wouldn't be cool, right? What's up, V? See that you're joining us. Cool. All right. So tell us a little bit about the dish that you're cooking for us today.
Yeah. Today I'm going to be making Kimchi-jjigae, which is like a Korean kimchi stew. And the one I'm making today has pork in it. It's if the people who saw the promotion material beforehand looked at a recipe, the recipe is actually from Chi, who is a really I guess prolific or really well-known, really popular Korean YouTube personality, or social media personality. She cooks a lot of she popularizes and cooks a lot of very easy to make just Korean food. And so her recipe is the one I'm using today. I won't be, just like last time, I won't be following along like step by step, or some of the ingredients I won't be using, or I will be adding some ingredients. But her recipe is kind of typical of the ones that I found. Like they're pretty typical ingredients. It's a pretty normal recipe. So this isn't like the recipe for kimchi-jjigae, but it's one of them.
Mm-hmm. So you would say definitely inspired by
and I got to give a lot of credit to Chi for I mean, that was the first recipe that I cooked, the first kimchi-jjigae recipe I cooked. So big credit to her for having that up.
Sweet. And I am actually trying to get the get a snapshot of it so that way I can share it with everybody. But okay, we'll be sharing that shortly because we do want to make sure that we're giving credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
Cool. So what are the ingredients? I guess for the people that are following along, what should they start preparing?
Yeah. So I've already prepared all my ingredients. Or most of them. I'm gonna take this over. This is a big Napa cabbage. This is one change I'm actually making to the recipe. We'll get to that in a sec. But if you look over here, I have some kimchi here. This hasn't been cut up yet. I'm gonna cut this up while something else is cooking. This is pork belly. It's about a pound of it. The recipe asks for half a pound. This is just about a pound, maybe a little over because I like pork belly. This is another change we're making. Adding some Thai chilies to the recipe.
Okay.
Of course, there's garlic in here. This is the Kimchi Brine. I don't know how well y'all can see that. Yeah, this is the Kimchi Brine. This is basically the kimchi like juice. We need about a quarter cup of this. This might be a little more than that for the stock of this stew. And then here's some tofu. It's some soft tofu. I've also got some green onions. I haven't cut these up yet because I don't need to do that right now. I can do that a little later. And at the end, I'm putting in some enoki mushrooms because I like them. I've also prepared cut up some Napa cabbage that we're gonna make. We're gonna add to this recipe in addition to the kimchi that we have. Pre-cut or uncut kimchi? Yeah, I have no recs, Millie. So the kimchi I have is pre-cut, but I'm not really sure if there's like a big difference in terms of quality. I actually haven't gotten uncut kimchi before, so who knows? Something else we'll be using, gochujang. I had showed everyone that this was in my fridge last time. This is a Korean pepper paste. It does a lot for the flavor of the stew. We're also using Korean chili flakes. Very important part of this dish also. And then there is a whole stock portion of this recipe. It asks for a stock, and the stock is like a seafood stock made up of like kelp and anchovies and a bunch of stuff. I didn't do that. So I have chicken stock handy, and the recipe says that chicken stock is just fine. So I have some chicken stock here, and I've added some fish sauce to it to give it a little bit of fishy taste, a little bit of a more complex flavor. So that's kind of the main ingredients we have today. I don't know if I'm leaving anything out, but if I am, we'll get to it eventually. So, yeah.
Cool. So in the meantime, let me show y'all. So this is the website. So y'all can go and check it out and get the recipe from there as well. Obviously, as Oscar mentioned, it was inspired by that recipe. So it's not not exactly like that, but yeah, cool. Okay, this is exciting. I don't know, I get really excited about this, but I'm still like afraid of the hot, of like the spiciness, but.
Oh yeah, no, the normal recipe for this is not actually it's not that spicy. The one I'm cooking is going to be a little bit more spicy just because I'm adding the chili, the Thai chili to it. But if you just follow the recipe, it doesn't result in something that's too spicy. Or I don't know, actually, it might be. Obviously, it's not spicy to me, but I don't know, Maria, if you'll like it.
So would you say that you can kind of play around with the level of spice?
You can definitely adjust the flavor. Yeah.
Right.
Like if you want to control how spicy it is, you can control how much or how little you put of the gochujang in it or of the Korean chili flakes. There are some ingredients you can just switch around.
Sweet. Cool. Well, for all of you joining us right now, Oscar is about to get ready to start cooking. But before we get to that, I do want to bring in a couple of announcements from OCA. So this is brought to you by OCA, Greater Houston. As you all know, that we have our arts and culture programming as well. And so we want to make sure that, as we're advocating for the community, we're also highlighting the art and culture of the AAPI community. But I'm trying something different. I don't know. I'm hiding now. But here are a couple of announcements for all of you. We're hiring at OCA. Because as many of you might have heard, the census deadline has moved up to September 30th. So we need to get the word out. We need everybody to participate. So please make sure that you are telling everybody in your network. And you know what? If you enjoy talking to people, if you're bilingual, like it would be amazing. You would be contributing a lot to the community by joining the team and doing some phone banking and canvassing with OCA. So the information is right there. And then also for all of the youth that is watching this, or if you have any high schoolers, this is so weird. If you have any high schoolers that are in your family, I'm sure that all of us know a high schooler that is interested in just gaining more leadership skills, and also, you know what, just learning to be their own advocate. We have a program, the Yells Workshop, that's happening this Saturday, and I highly recommend it. I mean, the kids, I actually had one of my nieces participate in the Yes Summit a couple months ago, and yeah, like she wasn't very talkative, but believe me, after an intense week of that summit, like she's amazing. She's doing a lot of wonderful things. So yeah, so highly recommend looking into these two things. So yeah, cool. All right, PSA over. All right, are you ready to get to cooking?
Yeah. We got a couple of comments while you were going over that. Emilio says hi. Thanks. Hi, Emilio from OCA, Utah. Nice.
What's up, Utah?
Yeah, I've never been to Utah before. So hi to OCA, Utah. Kim Nguyen says that Korean food can be spicy, but doesn't have the oils from the chili, so it doesn't burn your mouth as much. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's not what I'm doing today. Yeah, I mean, yes, typically, but I don't know if you tuned in last time, but I think I established pretty well last time how much I like spicy food. So, I'm actually going to be introducing the oils from the chili with the Thai chilies. So unfortunately, I won't be following exactly the recipe. Well, let's get started. All right, so first we're going to wash our hands.
Yes, very important. So yeah, so if you have any questions or any comments, then please put them into the chat. And thank you to everybody that's following us on Facebook and on YouTube. We're going to be doing this every Thursday at 7 p.m. So yeah, thanks for joining us. This is awesome. And we love having people that are from outside of Houston. So Emilio, thank you so much. This is great having you here.
Yeah, so the first thing we're going to do is actually we're going to, I don't recall if the Munchie recipe asks for this. I'm sure it does. But the first thing we're going to do is actually, just like last time, we're going to brown our meat. Or no, that's not the first thing we did last time. But the first thing we did with the meat last time was brown it. And like I said last time, browning the meat helps give it more flavor. The browning actually flavors it. So we're going to brown the pork belly, which I've cut into
pieces.
Yeah, cut into about like 1-inch pieces, sort of. What we're gonna do is.
So I'm gonna put on the screen. I'm gonna put the recipe for a second. So then that way, if you want to take a screenshot of this, please go ahead and do that. As Oscar is preparing to start cooking. All right.
So I made a little mistake just now. I put oil in the pan, which I wasn't intending to do, but I just poured the oil out that I had put in. The reason why I don't want oil in here is because as I'm browning this pork belly that I'm going to do right now, it's going to render a lot of fat. So pork belly is a really fatty meat, which means as you're cooking it down, as you're browning it, it's a lot of the fat is going to render out, which means a lot of the fat is going to become liquid. And And what I'm actually going to do is, as I'm cooking this and rendering the fat out, I'm going to leave the fat in there, and it's going to become a part of the dish afterwards. It's going to become a part of the stew. I'm going to cook my vegetables in it in a bit. So it's a very useful. The fat from the pork is actually super duper useful. Don't have to get rid of it. This is what I have right now. I just have the pork laying flat across the bottom of the pan, and I'm gonna do this in small batches so that the pan doesn't get overcrowded. So when the pan gets overcrowded, it doesn't heat up as fast, so the browning doesn't happen as well. So you want to make sure that your pan isn't overcrowded so that you can get the right browning, you can get the best flavor from the pork.
Oh man. Okay, see, that is the first mistake that I would make, because I don't know if it's that I'm impatient, but I'm just like, let's put it all in there, get it brown, and then next thing I know, it's not happening.
Yeah, give me a sec. I'm gonna do something. Okay, here we go. Now it's a little taller. I like this better. So this is gonna take a little bit. While we're doing that, while that's cooking, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to chop up my kimchi and one of my green onions to use for when I start cooking the stock or the liquid part of this. So I'm just gonna cut this pretty roughly. I'm using a different knife today. I'm using my Nakiri. So we're just gonna cut it pretty roughly. I'm not really paying attention to how big all this is. Cutting into roughly bite-sized pieces.
Okay, cool.
And that goes right back in the bowl.
You look so professional.
I'm just cleaning out my knife.
Okay. So what's the next ingredient after that? So you'll be
the next thing we're
onions, right?
I'm sorry?
So you're gonna chop up the green onions?
Yeah. I'm gonna chop up one of them, or a couple of them, I guess.
And if you're following along, let us know. Let us know how it's going. Well, you might not be able to let us know right away. But let us, or if you have any questions, like I said, you can put it into the comment box.
So I am, I've got these green onions cut into kind of like 1 inch, 1.5 inch pieces. This is going to go into the, this is going to go into the soup portion after we're done with the, with the pork. So I'm going to check on the pork now. I can smell that it's browning. So I'm going to turn them over. And I'm going to turn these over, and then right after I do this, I'm going to add more pork in. So what I've done is I've browned one side, and I've given the pan some time to heat up again after I put in the initial bit of pork. So I'm giving it time to heat up again, and now it's as hot as it was at the beginning.
Okay.
So that allows me to add some more pork in without it affecting the temperature of the pan too much.
Okay, see, that's patience. Okay, cool. That's a good technique.
It's not a ton to do right now. There's not a ton to do right now. I'm just waiting for that to cook.
Ooh, actually, I do have a question.
Yeah.
What is the setting on the stove? Is it like medium? Is it?
Oh, that's great. That's a great question. It's at medium right now. I had it set at medium high just now. Like I just switched it to medium, but I had it set to medium high. I turned it down because I could smell that the pork was getting. I could smell it cooking, but I smelled that smell a little bit too soon.
Okay.
I could smell it kind of burning. It has not burned yet, but you can also look at the bottom of the pan and tell that if there are spots that are getting a little dark, a little fast, that means you just have the heat on a little high. So I had it on a little high earlier. I had it on medium high, so I just turned it down to medium, and it shouldn't affect the temperature of the pan too much because it's already at such a high temp. So it's already so hot. I lowered it down to medium, and the type of pan I'm using retains a lot of heat.
Gotcha.
So I can turn it down to medium without it like affecting it too much. If you're using like a stainless steel pan, however, or like a thinner pan than what I'm using, you might have to be a little careful and be a little more careful about how much you're batching, how many batches of pork you're doing, and really careful about the overcrowding because thinner pans don't hold on to heat as well. They're not bad pans. It's just that different pans are used for different things.
Gotcha. I feel like that is an episode itself. What kind of pan to use for what?
Yeah.
And by the way, so Pinky is tuning in. What's up, Pinky?
Hello.
So, okay. Yeah, see, I'm so serious. In just one episode and a quarter, I have actually learned a lot.
That's good.
I know. Now I need to put it into practice.
So some of this pork, if you look at this, it's pretty brown on both sides.
Oh, wow.
So it might not be cooked all the way through, but that doesn't matter because we're going to cook this. We're going to be continuing to cook this afterwards once we have the actual stew going.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm only browning this right now to give it flavor. The goal right now isn't to cook it all the way through. It's not to cook it so that it's completely well done. It's just to get the brown color.
Okay. So basically for aesthetics.
Yeah, aesthetics well, not really aesthetics because we don't get to see this aesthetic later. It's mainly so that we get some flavor building.
Oh, Pinky, thank you so much. So Pinky and I have been on this training all day, and so yeah, I know it's a long day for all of us. But thank you for tuning in and stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, Pinky.
Yeah, Millie has a question for both of us. What got you into cooking?
I don't remember. I just know that. So actually, what got me into cooking was when I was growing up. So I'm Chinese. I grew up eating a lot of Chinese food, and actually, what got me interested in cooking was I actually wanted to explore food outside of Chinese food. So when I first started cooking, I was actually really into like French cuisine and like French techniques. So that was, I guess, back when I started college. At the very start of college, I was super into learning French cuisine, learning French techniques as a way to just because I hadn't had the food before. So I wanted to expand into that area. And that's when I first got into cooking. And a couple of years ago, I think a year or two ago, I started, I did like a little turnaround and I started becoming a lot more interested in Asian cooking just because learning more of the French style stuff actually taught me to look at the Asian ingredients a little more differently. And it taught me to appreciate Asian ingredients a lot more than I had before. So now I typically cook a lot of Asian food. I still enjoy French because I like French styled stuff. I still enjoy cooking with French techniques, but I'm a lot more invested in Asian cooking now. So I guess that's kind of, I don't know if that answers the question very well, Millie, but that's it.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I don't cook a lot. I mean, I'm trying. And actually, the times that I've cooked, I don't know, it feels a little therapeutic. I get everybody out of the kitchen, and I'm just like, all right, let me try this out. I feel like I'm an experimental cook where I just kind of throw things in and hope it turns out well. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But and working with OCA and going out into Chinatown, Asiatown, like I'm learning to expand my palate little by little. Spicy is still extremely tough for me, but I can definitely say that I try things at least once. And hopefully this is an opportunity for me to like learn and then experiment myself. So thanks for asking.
Yeah, it was a great question. So we're now on our last batch of pork. I'm going to show you the pan in a second once we're done with the pork. But we're going to do something that I don't think is in the recipe, but it's something I do because this is actually something I learned that I carried over to my Asian cooking from French cooking. So you'll see in a sec, but we're just going to let this cook. I can answer any other questions right now. My hands are free, I guess. Actually, I'm going to ask if people have questions, you can ask them. I'm going to chop my last green onion. And this one's going to be chopped a little more finely than the one before because it's going to be used for something different.
Is it going to be used for plating?
Sort of. It's just used at the end so something that is very important in cooking is kind of how when you put ingredients in. Mm-hmm. So timing is important, and we're timing this last bit of green onion to go into the dish just around when it's done cooking. So that doesn't mean that this is not going to be cooked because green onion is still going to be cooked. Green onion cooks so fast. You put it in something hot, it cooks. But what this does is so green onion, if you eat it raw, it's very mild, but it has a little bit of the onion, like the spiciness that people associate with onions, has a tiny bit of that. So what this does at the end is it gives it a little extra bite and it freshens the dish because we're putting something raw, something fresh into it. I'm going to check on the pork again. I think it's almost done.
And by the way, just to follow up on some of the comments, so V and Millie, actually, they both got into cooking during their college years or when they were in college. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's sounds like it's like a recurring theme. Except mine's just a little different. I didn't start out cooking like Asian food, I guess. I didn't have the I miss Asian food kind of thing. I kind of wanted to do like an escape. Mm-hmm. But I'm back now cooking Asian food again. So.
And I think eventually we all kind of return to our roots, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, in some sort of way, you know.
But you learn like a lot from the experience.
I'm sorry, say that again?
You learn a lot from the experience. Like you leave, you learn a lot, you come back, and you're able to like combine some of those things together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know I'm totally skipping ahead, but have you thought about the recipe for next week?
No, I haven't. I'm gonna wait to see what gets recommended. Okay, so I just finished the pork.
Okay.
Okay, that pan's really hot. But I'm gonna show you guys the bottom right now. So you see how the bottom of this pan
Oh yeah.
has all that stuff burnt onto it?
Mm-hmm.
So all of this is flavor. All of this is flavor, is pork flavor. And if we try to use it right now, it's not really possible. So something that's really common in European cooking and French cooking is deglazing. So I'm gonna take some Shaoxing wine and deglaze the pan with it. So what's happening is I'm putting something acidic into the pan, and that lifts the burn bits on the bottom. So it turns all of this stuff that's burned to the bottom into something we can now use. So look at that. There's nothing burned there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
All of it is now in this dark sauce thing.
It's like gravy.
It's sort of that's how you make a lot of gravies. Is by doing that. But what we're gonna do now is I still have this on the heat. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna throw in my garlic and Thai chilies to kind of infuse it into this little sauce we have going right now.
Okay.
I'm gonna cook it. I'm gonna cook it down a little bit, and what cooking it down means that I'm just, in this case, cooking it down means I'm waiting for this this sauce that we have here, this vinegar and brown bits stuff that I have here. I'm waiting for it to reduce. So that means you see there's a lot of steam, and I don't know if you can see it. You can't see it. I can't see it in the camera, but
you can barely see it. But
happening right now is there's a lot of steam coming out. So there's a lot of stuff evaporating. What this does is it concentrates the flavor. So the water's evaporating, but the flavor, the actual stuff that. So think about it this way: you have like salt water, and the water evaporates, but the salt remains. Right? That's what this is like. We're cooking this down. The water is evaporating, and the flavor from the pork, from the garlic and the chilies, and from our brown bits, that's still in the pan. So it's concentrating the flavor without all the water. This is important because we're going to start adding a lot of ingredients that are going to be producing water. Yeah, Kim, I'm glad you recognize it. Yeah, it's a Le Creuset pan, and yeah, these are great for slow cooking, and these retain a lot of heat. Retain heat really, really well. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna put in my kimchi.
And I noticed that you're moving or stirring a lot. Is that?
I'm just trying to prevent stuff from burning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, don't cook a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of just stirring. I'm gonna put in green onions. So this is the green onions I chopped up earlier. It's not the ones I'm using at the very end.
Yeah, these are the ones that were a little bit longer, about an inch and a half.
Yep. Next thing I'm gonna do is add in some of this Napa cabbage that I have. So instead of using all kimchi, I'm using some Napa cabbage because there is, just to provide a variety of sort of texture and a variety of flavor. I don't want the only vegetable in there to be the kimchi. So I'm just stirring it around a little bit, and I'm stirring now nothing's gonna burn anymore because there's so much stuff in here, but I'm stirring now just so that everything gets cooked. And the next thing I'm gonna add are my Korean chili flakes. So I'm going to put quite a bit of this. I would estimate I'm putting around 2 or 3 tablespoons.
Okay, wow. I mean, you do prefer spicy, like on the spicy side. So will most of the spiciness come from this?
No, I find that these the Korean chili flakes actually don't impart as much of a spiciness as the flavor that they have is more of like a smokiness, not necessarily spicy. But this does give it a lot of color, which is something that's also very important, I think, to good kimchi-jjigae, is the very red color. And our next thing we're going to add is some gochujang. So you can add however much you want of this. Don't add too much because you'll over season it, but you can add as much as you want, depending on kind of your taste and spiciness or saltiness. You'll notice I haven't actually put any salt in yet, and I don't think I'm going to put any salt in for the entire dish because we're adding a lot of ingredients that have a lot of flavors baked into them. So this is, I guess it's like a tablespoon.
And what exactly is that?
Gochujang. It's a Korean chili paste.
Okay.
You can find it in like, I mean, I know Houston has H-Mart, so you can find it in any H-Mart.
Okay.
So I have this in. I'm gonna keep the spoon here because there's still a bit of sauce on this gochujang that I'm gonna stir in a sec. But I'm gonna turn the heat up a little bit, a lot. I'm turning it to medium high now.
Okay.
More to the high side because I have so much in the pot right now.
So you want it to get like hot again, everything to heat up.
Yeah, and then the next part I'm gonna be adding stock. So this is that chicken stock and fish sauce that I had talked about earlier. I'm gonna put this in a few ladles at a time. If you guys watched last time when I was making the mapo tofu, I did a similar thing. I had a big thing of stock, a big like bowl of stock, and I put it in a little at a time because the stock has a lot of flavor. We just put a lot of flavored elements in here. We want to make sure that we're not making this dish too salty, and we also want to make sure. I want to make sure that this is a consistency I like. Like maybe I don't want it. Maybe I don't want it to. Maybe I don't want the stew to be too watery. In which case I would add less stock. Maybe I want it to be more watery, so I'll add more stock. It's all up to you. But I recommend being slow and steady with the stock.
Gotcha.
So I'm bringing it up to a boil. I'm going to add another little stock into this. And now I'm going to add all of the pork that we had just cooked.
Oh man, that's the good part.
Yeah. So this is the part where we want the pork to cook all the way through. And what we did at the beginning was give each of these little pork pieces a lot of flavor. We let it build a lot of flavor so that now when we put these in here, now when we put these in the stew, the flavor from the pork necessarily has to dilute, right? So because you're putting it into something watery, the flavor is gonna drain a little from the pork. So if we had done this without browning it first, then we would come out with possibly really bland pork. It doesn't have to be that way, but that frequently happens. So what we're doing right now is we had concentrated all the flavor into the pork by browning it. Now I'm putting it in so that even if the flavor does wash off a little bit, we still have the brown to give it flavor, right? It's not gonna be crispy, but it's gonna be flavorful. So it's boiling now. We're gonna let it sit for I don't know. What time is it? All right, let it sit. I guess we're gonna let it sit for about 5 minutes.
Okay.
I'm turning it down to medium again because it's now boiling. We don't need to have it on a high heat, otherwise it's gonna boil away. All the soup's gonna be gone. So turning it down to medium so it simmers.
Okay.
Right, so I'm gonna turn it down to low. And while that's happening, I'm gonna prepare my tofu.
Okay. I have a comment. So I'm noticing that at no point in time you're putting a lid on top of the pot or anything. Like, is it not necessary?
I don't typically put a lid. I mean, I don't find it to be necessary. I think most things that you do with a lid on a pan can be done without a lid on a pan. I think the time when you really, really need a lid, which really isn't any time in my opinion, is if you're like cooking a stock for a really long time.
Gotcha.
You can put the lid on, and that allows you to turn the heat down to a very, very low setting, and you can just have it on a stove for a long time. That's not really what we're doing right now. We're trying to cook this like within an hour. It's it's kind of a high speed kind of situation. We don't really need that. Lily has a question. What is one ingredient you always have stocked in your fridge that you have to make? Stock, cold cooked rice, etc. Good question. I don't. In an ideal world, I would have stock made, but there's a lot of like trouble that comes with making stock, particularly the fact that when you're making stock, you're basically making your kitchen really hot because you have something on the stove for hours and hours at a time. And I don't really like that, so I'm probably not going to do any big stock things until we get closer to like the cooler months. My fridge is typically stocked with mostly fresh ingredients. I guess rice. I always have rice, some sort of cooked rice. I hope that answers the question. But aside from the rice, I typically have just fresh ingredients.
Cool. Yeah, I don't keep anything. I don't know. I feel like in my fridge we always have the essentials for a sandwich. You know, ham and cheese.
I also have the essentials for a sandwich right now, so
It's like that's about it. All right. So, what kind of tofu is this?
this is soft tofu. Let me check real quick. Yeah, it's soft tofu.
Because last time it was the firm one, right?
Yeah, I don't really like using firm tofu for like stews and stuff.
Okay.
But I'm just cutting it. It's a little. It's very delicate. I'm not really treating it very delicately, but it's a very delicate item.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just cutting it into pieces.
About an inch or half an inch.
I'd say this is closer to an inch.
Okay.
So they're in cubes. Mangshi's recipe has her slicing them in like kind of 1 to 2 inch squares that are about half an inch thick. And like she like layers them on the stew. I'm not gonna do that because I like all my stuff mixed together, so I'm gonna do it beforehand. This is just how I prefer to do it because this is how I prefer to eat it. Air cutting. What does that mean?
I think it means that you're not cutting like on the actual board, but you're like.
Oh, right. I should have figured that one out.
And by the way, Tofu Riot had sent a suggestion to do dumplings. So maybe that's something that we can do later on.
That's something I might be able to do later on. It's gonna take a little bit more prep time from me, but But we'll get to it. We'll get to dumplings soon. All right. I don't know. I don't want to say soon. Eventually. I don't want to make any promises.
Hey, so at this time, I'm plugging in to all of you that are tuning in. If you have a recipe that you want Oscar to try out, send it over. You can send us a message through any of the platforms, or you can also send an email. And actually, I have it. Oh, oops. Hold on. I need to change the date.
So I'm actually adding water right now because I think the flavor is a little strong. So I'm going to dilute it a little bit with water.
Okay. All right. So by Monday, August 17th, you can submit your recipe via email so that way Oscar can try it, or we'll be choosing from a recipe for the next show.
So I just put in some tofu. I'm going to put in the rest of the Napa cabbage. So I'm putting this in at the end because I want it to still be a little bit crispy. And this is that timing thing we were talking about earlier. Timing is important.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm layering, and at the very end, I'm going to put, right now, actually, I'm going to put this enoki mushroom on top because mushrooms cook so quickly. I can put them in at the very, very end.
Yeah, so I've learned that through my hot pot experience because I did not really know that.
Yeah. Mushrooms cook very, very fast, very, very quickly. So you mentioned earlier, Maria, about me not covering my pot.
Okay, yeah.
I'm going to cover it right now.
What?
I'm covering it right now because I want, so I'm bringing it up to a boil again. I just added water, so I'm bringing it up to a boil again so it boils. And I'm covering it because I want the steam to be trapped inside here and cook the stuff that I've layered on top of the stew. So I'm treating it sort of as a pressure cooker. I'm cooking the Napa cabbage and the mushrooms and a tofu that I layer on top of the stew. That way I don't have to do a ton of stirring. Because if I stir, then I break apart the tofu. I want to do as little stirring now as I can. So we're going to let this sit on here. I'm turning it to medium high again because this is the final stage. I'm going to cook it at a pretty high heat, and in a couple of minutes it'll be done, I think.
Okay. This recipe feels like like it's pretty easy. It's doable. For me, right? Like it's doable. I like that.
Cooking isn't like super hard. Like a lot of cooking is really easy. When I said earlier, make sure to not send me anything too hard. Hard for me means if I have to spend a lot of time. So hard for me means like if the recipe requires me to make something like 48 hours in advance, that's hard for me because I need to spend a lot of time doing it. Dumplings are a little bit hard for me because of the stuff that goes into preparing all the ingredients. Like I have to chop up a bunch of meat. There's just a lot of steps that go into it. Cooking itself is not. That's something I've learned. Cooking itself is not actually super duper hard. The techniques are all pretty straightforward. Mm-hmm. Like just have to make sure to not burn your food and not burn your food, not undercook your food, and you have to be able to reach the middle point. But cooking itself is not very hard. There's just a lot of stuff that goes on around it that can make it hard.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. But this looks like something that I should definitely try.
Oh yeah, you should try all of these recipes.
No, for sure. It's just I like all the ingredients. Well, obviously except the chili flakes, but I like all the other ingredients. So for sure.
Okay, so cooking for a couple of minutes now. I'm just gonna push some of the floating ingredients into the stew so I can have it immersed for a little bit longer. Yep. Kim says it's not the cooking, it's the prep work. That's why knife skills are important. I enjoy taking my time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. It is a lot about the prep. And yeah, a lot of cooking is making sure that everything that goes into the cooking before you do it is good. Oh, I just realized I missed an entire ingredient, and it was my my kimchi brine. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put it in right now.
So when should that have gone in?
That should have gone in when I first started making the broth, the watery part of this.
Okay.
But it really doesn't matter that much because basically what you're doing with the stew part is you're putting in all these ingredients all together and you're just reducing it. You're just concentrating flavor. So, oh, you make this almost every day. That's awesome. We keep reducing the sauce. Sometimes you can freeze it too. Yeah. So if you keep reducing it, it tastes better because it concentrates the flavor more. So what I just put it in and you can see it's still boiling. I'm gonna let it, since I just added something in, I'm gonna let it boil for a few more minutes so that the flavor gets a little more concentrated again.
Okay. Cool.
I know we're running low on time, so I'm gonna start with the plating.
Ooh, it's fancy time. Oh, and in the meantime, for everybody that's joining us, I just want to remind y'all a little bit about, or we need to do a little bit about OCA. So we are a membership organization, and we would love for you to become a member. You can go and find out more information at OCAHouston.org. And you know what? This is one of the reasons you should join. We have arts and cultural programming throughout the year. And you could be a part of it, participate, volunteer. So yeah, so, you know, and then obviously we also do all of the other programming for civic engagement and advocacy as well. So, but yeah, go to OCAHouston.org to get more information about how you can join and be a member of the organization.
Nice. Yeah, be a member.
All right, so tell us about what happened. What'd you do?
No, I just added the green onions in, the rest of them, and I just turned the heat off. This is done now. I'm gonna serve this over rice. I know when we go to a restaurant, you typically have this served on the side, with rice on the side. I'm gonna serve it over rice.
It's so funny because I don't know, I want to like get closer to see everything, and I find myself like getting closer to the screen, like, ooh, this looks so good.
So I have it here.
Oh my goodness!
Just a bunch of the kimchi. You can see the pork, the tofu. You can even see some green onion. It's on top of rice. I'm gonna get a fresh spoon. Look at this spoon. What a good.
Wow, it's so pretty.
I agree. So we're gonna take a bite. I'm gonna try some of the pork.
Okay. Man, dude, the pork. Oh. Today my dinner was vegetarian, so as you started browning that pork, I was like, oh my goodness, why? Why am I not eating that?
So pork's really good. The pork really benefits from the browning. Like the browning is browning is so important when cooking meat, and it really, really gives this pork a lot of flavor. I'm gonna try the kimchi and the rest of the stuff now.
So everybody is saying, "Wow, looks great, looks delicious." Lou, thank you so much for joining. Oh, they're commenting on the spoon. That spoon is for champions. Cute spoon. I think I need a bigger spoon. Let's see. Only one C. The best part is when you are browning it with sesame oil and pepper.
Yeah, that's an ingredient I left out, and that was completely on accident. Is sesame oil. I left that out. I accidentally left that out. So that's a great reminder. That was that.
I never knew about sesame oil until now. Like I said, like OCA has been like blowing my mind, opening my like all my senses. I mean, yeah, sesame oil is the bomb, y'all. Like I had no idea.
But yeah, that's the dish. That's how I cook my kimchi-jjigae. So yeah.
Okay, man. Well, I think that we are all. Oh no, Erica, what's you? I was like, I don't know. Should I say the name? Should I just say like, the name of your account? But so Erica's saying that you're killing her. That you're, man.
Yeah, sorry. I forgot the sesame oil today.
And Louis says, "Speak like a chef." Speak like a chef. So you're speaking like a chef.
I'm gonna assume that's a compliment. Thanks, Louis.
I think so. That's what I'm understanding. That's cool. Well,
yeah.
Oh.
So, if you have got like suggestions, this is actually a suggestion. This is a suggestion from someone that I decided to cook. So if you have a suggestion for dish you want me to make, you can drop it in the chat wherever you're watching from. If you're watching from Facebook, drop it in the chat. If you're watching on YouTube, drop it in the chat. And email the email that Maria just put on the screen. You can message us on Instagram, whatever platform we have. You can email us or message us on it, and I'll look at them. A lot of things go into me deciding whether or not to make it. Like one of the biggest things is actually how much prep time it takes. That's why I haven't done I didn't choose dumplings, because it took a little bit too much prep time for me. But I promise you, we will get to it. It might just be next week's recipe. Who knows? Yeah. We will get to it though, because I have been itching to make dumplings.
So Millie is saying Japanese curry, maybe, possibly.
Yeah. Okay, that's a very low prep dish. So it would be a very easy one. I will take that into consideration.
So I guess that's different than like Indian curry, because I feel like Indian curry is it requires a lot, because it seems to have a lot of ingredients, at least from what I.
Yeah, so I've made Indian curry from scratch, and it does require a lot of ingredients, and it's and it requires a long cook time. Okay. So I don't think if we do something like that, I won't be cooking it on camera for the most part. I will probably have something that's already cooked, and I'll just walk everyone through the steps. But I don't think I'll be cooking that on camera. The last time I made Indian curry, it was me and my friend, and it took us like 5 hours, 5 or 6 hours, because we were letting the meat braise, and that takes a long time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's very different. Okay, cool. No, and I think that's the beauty of Asian cuisine, right? Like it can have the same name, like curry, but then depending on where it's from, I mean, it's the preparation is very different. The length of time is very different. Yeah. So it's really cool to explore all of that. So
yeah. Okay. And feel free to suggest like I know for these couple of shows, I've been doing Asian recipes. This time I did kimchi-jjigae. Last time I did mapo tofu. I'm open to basically like all like ranges of food. So if you want to suggest something American or something like European, I will definitely take that into consideration.
Cool. I might send something that's Latin American.
Yeah, I'll make it. I'll try. You know.
Or you know what? What would really be cool? And this is something that I'm kind of like exploring, you know, for myself. So in Panama, apparently there was like a large migration of Chinese, and so there's kind of like Chinese Panamanian dishes that I just came across maybe in the last week or so, and I was thinking like, this would be something interesting to explore further.
Yeah. There's actually it's like that in Peru too. There are Chinese restaurants in Peru have like a kind of fusion type cuisine. I know one of the dishes is like stir-fried beef and like bell peppers and stuff served on top of French fries. And that's one of the dishes they have there. So yeah, this type of like fusion food is very, very common.
Yeah, I think it's called lomo saltado. All right, I might submit that.
All right, well, I guess it's time for us to wrap up. I know we're a little over time today, but I think it was worth. I think it was worth it. I think it's worth it. I'm gonna be eating this. Of course, I think it's worth it.
I mean, you're gonna eat it. Like it's totally worth for you.
Yeah.
The rest of us are just like drooling and want to eat it.
But yeah, make sure to submit your recipes for next Thursday. Submit them by Monday. I pick on Monday, and that's when I start planning how I'm gonna cook it. So submit these by Monday, and I'll pick one. We'll announce it, and then next Thursday we start cooking again.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for joining us, and remember that we are doing this every Thursday at 7 p.m. on Facebook and on YouTube. So spread the word, and next time follow along. We're gonna on my end, I'm gonna do a better job of posting things a little bit further ahead of time, so that way you have time to get all the rest, you know, all the ingredients, etc. And let's see.
I know the lighting is not great. I haven't found a solution to it yet. Like I can see the camera. I look really dark, like shadowy. So that's a great suggestion. I'm
gonna send you a ring. I think I need one too, because like it got dark in here real quick. But cool. So we're definitely gonna work a little bit on our staging and our lights and everything on our set, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, V. Oh, cool. Oh, so V was following along.
V, if you want to submit a picture of that soup,
yes,
go ahead. That'd be great.
We'll post it for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, and so we'll be seeing you in a week.
All right. Bye.
Bye, everyone.